Thank you for being with us. There have been some standoffs today around the city's main road. Tell us more.
There have indeed. So today really has been the battle of the roads in and around Beirut. I'm here on what's known as the Ring Road, the Ring Bridge that links West Beirut and East Beirut. It's a very important arterial highway through the city. And since early morning, we've had security forces and army trying to push back protesters who've been blocking this road and others around the city. I was here at about 2 a.m. last night, and it was just a small group of about 30 protesters who built up a camp, a small fire and some tents to be able to block off this road and control the roadblock and only let protesters through. But from this morning, the security forces turned up very early, and they immediately the protesters started calling other people to come and help them. So more and more protesters turned up to the road, and it went on for several hours, pushing back and forth. The security forces on both sides of the bridge trying to push protesters off. They managed to for a while, and then some violent clashes did happen. One old man was hit over the head and started bleeding. Eventually, the security forces suddenly left the protesters to it and let them carry on holding the road. And that may be because in the Lebanese press it's being reported that Saad Hariri, the prime minister, turned around to his cabinet and he said, "I will resign if one more drop of Lebanese blood is spilt," which of course is a warning to both the army and the security forces, and they're taking their orders from this government. So that may be why the protesters were left for the meantime. Now, of course, what the government has been saying for the last week to protesters is, we will defend your right to protest. Please, please get off the roads and allow freedom of movement to continue so you don't cripple the economy. Protesters, of course, saying, all we can do that you take notice of is blocking the roads. If we just walk around the streets protesting, you're not going to listen to us. This is how we get your attention, so of course we're not going to stop. And essentially the issue that we are seeing is the fact that the security forces and the army are very much loved in this country, and they're seen as part of the people, working for the people. They don't want to retaliate against the people, and even this morning we were seeing scenes of security forces, members of the security forces, crying while they were getting into these scuffles with people, and they eventually just stopped, and they were all laughing and joking with each other, and then protesters went and got pizza, they went and got food for the security forces. So there is a close relationship there, and it's very unclear whether, if the government does force the army and security services to take stronger action, they'll be willing to do that.
That's right. How much longer could this peaceful, even as you use that word, loving standoff between the army and the protesters roll on?
Well, this is exactly the issue. So it's a problem both for the government and for the protesters. For protesters, what people are starting to say to me now is, how long can we carry on like this? This is all very nice. It's brought a huge sense of Lebanese national identity back to us. We're all united, but we're not really achieving anything. And that's why the crux has come down to the roads. They have become so important because that is the one way they can cripple the country. I was speaking to one student protester who said to me, this is all a facade, what you see in downtown Beirut. They have created this space for us in central Beirut, surrounded by the army, where they want us to protest. They're happy for us to be there, the government are, because it shows Western countries that we are a liberal country, the government is liberal, and there's a democracy here. We need to get out and block and occupy places where the government doesn't want us to be. And at the moment, that is happening in dribs and drabs in some places, but many other people have just got used to the habit of going to the town centre and having this nice protest-like atmosphere every day. How long can that continue? How long can this standoff with the army a little bit every day continue? On the other hand, what can the government do? Because they cannot ask the army to take up arms against the people. That is unlikely to happen, as I explained, that close relationship. And also, this is not an authoritarian country. This is supposedly a democratic government. So beyond that, then where do the protesters go? What can they ask for? Even if they are able to get the government to resign, which could happen if this goes on for weeks and the government is unable to function. That's what protesters hope for. But beyond that, there are no other clear candidates to run this government. Civil society is trying to elect some, but it doesn't seem to be working at the moment. We've just got an ambulance that's turning up on my left. There's actually just been a scuffle behind me while this was happening. And one of the problems now, if you can still hear me over the siren, is that these scuffles are taking place because people are starting to get frustrated because the protests don't seem to be working. And so when sectarian people come into the mainstream protests and they start these scuffles, people react badly because they're frustrated that nothing's happening. So, as I say, as you can see behind me, somebody else who's just been injured, but immediately protesters do let them through. So people are trying to allow the medics through and allow the protest reaction to function, even if they won't let normal business continue on these roads.
Molana-Allen reporting there from Beirut. Thank you very much for that update. Meanwhile, faced with renewed